We're super excited about the webinar today. The title of this webinar is Special Delivery, Powerful Ingredients and Potent Delivery Systems Join Forces to Drive Consumer Demand. Joining us today is Volunteer Botanicals and Jason Pickle, one of their co-founders, and also Nicole Brown. But before we jump into the webinar, we just wanted to share that the question section of this webinar is open. If any questions come up for you during the webinar, please just go ahead and drop them in the question section. I'll jump off of video and onto the presentation mode, and I'll be monitoring questions on the back end. And at the end of the presentation, we will save some time to answer all of your questions. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation here. All right. And so joining us today is Jason Pickle. Jason, could you give us a little bit of a background of what led you to founding Volunteer Botanicals and really where you guys are at today?
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. First of all, thank you, Justin, Nicole, Open Book Extracts for having us on today. Very exciting to be part of this and joining you in the journey to bring minor cannabinoids to the masses. I'm very, very proud to be part of this today. My background is I'm a native Tennessean and born and raised here in Tennessee. And shortly after college, I moved out to Northern California. And I spent about, 12 to 15 years in Northern California. And that was when I was really first truly exposed to the cannabis plant. Growing up in Tennessee, we have a very different story and a very different perception of what this plant is and what it was 15 plus years ago. So once I moved to Northern California, I was exposed to a whole other side of what cannabis is, both hemp and marijuana, and how these plants were enormously helping both humans and animals alike. So for me, it was a big paradigm buster. And about the same time, our CEO, Derek Odette, he started working with the largest supplier of CBD isolate in the United States. So he was working with non-psychoactive cannabinoids, and I was working with the marijuana plant. So being someone who farms a lot, big plant and animal person, I had my hands on the plant and cultivated or helped cultivation in a variety of different ways, and was learning what these oils were doing to help people with cancers, with all sorts of different ailments. It was a miracle. And so it was almost like the potential of an untapped plant, an untapped herb. So from the psychoactive side of things, I was being able to get my hands dirty and learn about the plant itself, while Derek, our CEO, was able to understand the non-psychoactive side of cannabinoids, and that was just CBD at the time. So after many late night conversations about the untapped potential of this plant, both on the cannabinoids and terpenes, we began to build our own system. We built some great relationships within the industry. This was when the industry here on the hemp side was very new. And we knew that not all cannabinoids were formulated the same. Some seemed to work better than others. And it was our quest to know why. So now here we are. About 2 years, we've had this company here in Tennessee, Volunteer Botanicals, and we're here to tell the truth. The time has come that we move past the previous misconception of what this plant is capable of, and partnerships are the way that I think we're going to bring non-psychoactive cannabinoids to the masses. So we believe cooperation is the new competition, and that's what got me involved with the plant, and I'm excited about the untapped future potential of both minor cannabinoids and terpenes as truly healers to our body in an all natural sense. It's exciting times for all of us in the industry.
That it is. Thank you so much, Jason, for sharing. Also joining us today is Nicole Brown, Chief Commercial Officer at Open Book Extracts. Nicole, can you share a little bit about your background and what led you here to OBX and some of the stuff that you're working on at OBX?
Absolutely. Thank you, Justin. And thank you, Jason, for joining us today and for your partnership, of course. Also, I'm so glad you mentioned terpenes. We're going to talk about minor cannabinoids. We also definitely have to talk about terpenes because I get excited when we talk about terpenes. So a little bit about my background. I spent most of my career in the CPG space, particularly working in the beverage industry for product development and sales for wine and spirits, and also in the beauty industry, doing product development within the skincare and fragrance realm. And so one of my greatest passions is product development and creating, both the ingredients and the innovations to power powerful products, as well as bringing to market those kinds of products that win the hearts and minds of consumers. And I think there's no industry that is more fascinating and exciting than the cannabinoid industry that we're in. And so that's what led me here and led me to find open book extracts, which we'll talk about in a minute. But that's my background, and really excited to have joined forces with Jason and the Volunteer Botanicals team, and to tell you a little bit about the products that we're bringing to market together.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicole. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and jump off after introductions here and leave the floor to you guys.
Great. So as I said, I wanted to tell you a little bit about open book extracts for those of you who don't know us. So open book extracts, or OBX as we refer to ourselves, is a vertically integrated grower, processor, and manufacturer based in Roxborough, North Carolina. We are GMP certified. That stands for Good Manufacturing Practices, and it's one of the more rigorous standards of the industry. We have GMP certifications for both food processing and nutraceuticals, so we are well equipped to serve all sectors of the CBD industry. And through our vertical integration, have access and overview of the entire chain of custody, from the seeds and the genetics all the way through to the processing and development of the ingredients and materials that are powering the industry today, and that are leading us to be able to put those ingredients to work in really great products.
Great, very, very well said. And why we're here is working with you, because you guys do that very, very well. And we play a small role within the cannabinoid supply chain as well. We don't take on as big of a chunk as OBX might, but in a general sense, Volunteer Botanicals is an intermediate manufacturer of cannabinoids and terpene-based ingredients. So what that just means is we play a small but a very critical role in the cannabinoid supply chain. So we take extracts from groups like OBX and we convert them into a variety of mediums that might meet the needs of product creators, both inside and outside of the hemp industry. And this process, in a general sense, is called post-conversion. And we told this process. So our conversions stem from a patent pending technology that merges pharmaceutical processes with cannabis extracts. And I'll touch into that, how that works a little bit later in the webinar. But we've been in business as Volunteer Botanicals for just over 2 years. And last week, we just broke ground on our new facility in Tennessee. And it's going to be about 5,800 square feet. It's located on 99 acres, and it will be dedicated specifically to post-conversion and formulating of finished goods. By the end of the year, we'll have 2 fully redundant sites in Pennsylvania and Tennessee, and all of these sites will be doing the exact same work. So we'll be able to scale up and handle any manufacturing, at least within this current industry's dynamic. And we see it being a very dynamic and effective role that we can play to help people like OBX use their extracts in new dynamic delivery methods that are extremely effective and enjoyable to consume. Our goal has always been to get cannabinoids into as many bodies as possible. And when we're able to create partnerships like the one we have here with OBX, we're using each other's strengths to do just that. So we're really excited about using minor cannabinoids in new ways and in new formulations. And we feel like this is just the beginning. We're moving out of a CBD industry and into a cannabinoid and terpene industry. And we see where this is the most potential. So we, again, play a very small role as a post-conversion specialist, but a role that I hope will help bring in a new wave of products and a new wave of businesses into our exciting new space.
Very well said, Jason, and congratulations on breaking ground on the new facility. Can't wait to come visit and come see it. And you know, I would say I think your role is quite mightier than you stated. I think that the ability to really unleash the potential of these ingredients in the products that are going to be in consumers' hands is pretty critical. So, you know, glad that you and your team are doing the work that you're doing, and that we're able to do it with you. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about what we would say, you know, the not so minor cannabinoids, because the minor cannabinoids, as people like to say, or the rare cannabinoids, as we say, are pretty much becoming the stars of our show here. So I want to talk a little bit about each of the particular ones, but first, you know, just giving you a high level, you know, New Frontier Data recently released some data around the market potential of all of the cannabinoids and all of these different applications. And we'll talk about, you know, which cannabinoids are really, you know, showing promise and potential for each of these indications. But, you know, what you can see here is there is just a large opportunity to really unlock the potential in cannabinoids to serve all of these different need states, and these different need states that in many cases are being serviced by, you know, pharmaceutical treatments or sometimes no treatments at all. And really being able to find and use cannabinoids as a solution here, we really are excited about the opportunity to be able to serve these needs really well. So the first of the cannabinoids we will talk about is CBN, or cannabinol. So this is a, you know, cannabinoid that most often people refer to as the sleep cannabinoid because of its indications and potentials to really make you feel very relaxed, very soporific, also of course like anxiety and stress relieving, and even in certain cases, you know, even all the way through to pain relief. There's also a lot of research being conducted now, and research that has been conducted indicating that CBD can also be used to treat conditions such as osteoporosis, or even is really good in certain skincare products and topical products as, you know, an antibacterial. So CBN is, you know, one of the minor cannabinoids that OBX has really focused on, you know, growing and commercializing the most quickly to respond to market demand. We are seeing more and more of our clients looking to work with CBN, looking to make products with CBN, and we're really happy that we're able to have, you know, created a process that produces CBN at a greater than 99% purity, at a price that is really affordable and friendly to our clients, so that they can then make products that are friendly and affordable for their customers. We really want to make CBN and all these cannabinoids as widely accessible as quickly as possible so that they can do the work that they're meant to do. So CBN is one that we're quite excited about. We're seeing a lot of really great products being made out there with CBN, be it tinctures, soft gels, obviously the products we're going to talk about today, and things like instant release tablets or dissolving tablets and other methods. But it's a really exciting cannabinoid, and I encourage you, if you've not gotten to work with CBN yet, you should definitely give it a try. Jason, on your side, how often are you working with CBN products or seeing that at Volunteer?
It's picking up, and we have worked with a couple of different CBNs, both yours and in other groups, and I just give kudos to the level of purity and cleanliness of the extracts. It makes our job so much easier, but it's new. Right now, I think one of the biggest challenges that we're all trying to face with cannabinoids like CBN is how much is enough, right? This isn't a one size fits all thing. It's not a CBD oil where you can just take it and run with it. So we're seeing people integrate it into products in small doses, and we're seeing that small doses are potent. So we've formulated a few different products for a couple of different clients, and we're working on one now for you guys at OBX. So I believe that this, like you said, I mirror that there's a lot of excitement and interest in CBN, especially knowing how people have trouble with anxiety and sleep, and it's just the world that we live in today. And so these types of products, I think, are real exciting to know that we can potentially either add back in this cannabinoid, or we can have a CBN-based product that really hits a target demographic and a specific need. And I'm excited about it. I know folks are playing with it, but we too have seen the sedative side of this cannabinoid, and we think it's going to play a big role in sleep products and relaxation products moving forward. I wasn't aware of the skincare, so that was a good tidbit for me. I was unfamiliar that could help on that side of things, which is, again, so exciting because we don't even know what we don't know. And the more that we, I think, see these products get into our consumers' hands, the more we're going to learn really true the power that they have.
Awesome. It's great to hear. The next cannabinoid we'll talk about is cannabigerol, or CBG. CBG has certainly started to rise in popularity. One, because of access to the material with both CBG naturally occurring in the plant in some significant quantities, which makes the availability of CBG on the market pretty readily available. And having really nice CBG isolate to work with to be able to create those pure products that start with pure ingredients that again can address a number of different conditions. With CBG, really on its own or as a dominant part of your product story, tends to have a very energizing feeling to it. It's like more of an uplifting feeling. If you see CBD isolate, for example, being more on the relaxing side, CBG, it's not a super intense overstimulated energy, but it's very much one that I think will be serving a lot of needs in things like sports nutrition products. Even we see a lot of our customers doing energy products like energy drinks and energy shots, infusing more CBG in there to kind of play into that effect and how that might, be one of the products you could be thinking about here. But most often, currently in the market, you see a lot of CBG skincare products coming to market from some of the largest brands, because when you put CBG into a skincare formulation, it creates a beautiful product that serves to kind of relieve a number of different skin conditions, be it just dryness, redness. It's like an overall enhancing product, and CBG is doing quite well in things like face serums and eye creams and things like that too.
Yeah, and on our side of things, we've seen same as you, since more people are growing CBG this year, the availability of CBG extract, both in crude, distillate, and isolate form, is allowing for that specific cannabinoid to be reintroduced back in to full spectrum products, make very big, robust profiles. Two specific use cases I'd like to talk about. We formulated just an oil, just for fun, to put out through our channels, and we had a ton of feedback about what you mentioned about people being very surprised that it was uplifting and energizing, and also that a lot of people said that it's an absolute anxiety melter. And that's really nice to hear. Again, mentioning CBN and us living in kind of an anxious world, I found that very fascinating, because that was a new one for me, that folks actually got some real good benefit. So once we put it into the market, we're getting a lot of feedback to say the same thing. And second is gut issues. We interviewed a gentleman who healed his colitis, which is a gut infection, a bad bacteria within the gut, by using a strong CBD full spectrum oil. So, you know, again, CBG, I think, is one of those that we're going to see a lot more of this year. But it too has a lot of untapped potential, even from some of the first signs of what it can do. It's different than CBD. And so we're going to have a lot of it very soon. And I think it's going to play a vital role in some of these formulations, both as a core ingredient or just even an add-on booster that could be added back in to make a more robust profile. But a lot of positive that's coming out of the CBG side of things. I think we're going to see a lot more of that this year, which is a welcome addition, I think.
Oh, wow, that's great. Thank you for sharing that on the, you know, we've read the research on colitis and those gut issues, but it's great to even hear that anecdotal feedback. It's so exciting, it really is.
Absolutely.
So, you know, speaking of energy and stimulation, you know, this is one to certainly talk about here, which is THCV, tetrahydrocannabivarin. This is a very rare cannabinoid, one that you know, our team and our collective science team have worked on for quite some time to develop methods for production of THCV, which is not produced in large quantities naturally in the plant. So you do have to come up with different methodologies in order to produce it, which we have. And what you've seen here, and you see a picture of our THCV. THCV has high potential applications for conditions related to metabolism, diabetes, anxiety, but even more than that, obesity. And so what we are starting to do on our side, and this kind of goes back to what Jason said earlier about CBN, there's been so little even THCV material on the market to start working with. You know, we're starting at the basics of really understanding, you know, what is the appropriate, safe, and effective dose for THCV. You know, working closely with a group of doctors in North Carolina to help us understand exactly how much, because with THCV, it might even be less than 5 milligrams could be effective. We're starting to see early indicators of that. But what it does do is it has a incredibly stimulating and alert feeling to it. And it has also been proven to, you know, increase your metabolism, lower your blood sugars, and really could just treat a whole variety of, you know, very large problems in, you know, the, you know, obesity and, you know, metabolic syndrome community. This could truly be a hero product. And so we're really excited to be able to start the research and the work with it and on it with several of our clients, as well as partner groups like our doctors in North Carolina that have started to work with us on this. So I would say, you know, more to come on THCV, and, you know, we are excited to be one of the few who can, you know, create and produce THCV. So it will be on the market to, you know, be able to hopefully provide a lot of relief for a lot of these very, very difficult conditions that exist.
Yeah, and I'll add that we haven't formulated any THCV. You were one of the first and only people that we know of that can produce this cannabinoid. So when we were visiting your facility a couple of weeks ago and met with Dave and Scott, which again, thank you gentlemen for your hospitality, we got to sample your THCV in tincture form. And it was very, very low potency, but we absolutely felt it. And that was, you know, super intriguing from a product standpoint of being able to have something that you don't need a ton of. So that again shows just so much potential as an add-on cannabinoid where you don't have to break the bank by taking 100 milligrams of something to achieve a desired result. And I too, the reading that I've done on THCV, it's a cannabinoid that's going to address a whole different set of issues than even any of the ones we've spoken about yet. So I too am excited about formulating, getting some of that in volume and seeing what kind of cool stuff that we can make to figure out what sort of potency ranges are effective. But I'll tell you, the little bit that I took, I absolutely felt it, and it was intriguing for sure. So keep up the good work on that. I can't wait to truly formulate and see what kind of stuff we can do with it as well.
Oh my God, glad to hear that, Jason. It is, I've also gotten to sample some of those early THCV tinctures, and it's impressive how potent it is and how fast acting. So we see a lightning in a bottle moment happening there, and excited to explore it with you.
Absolutely.
We got a couple more we'll talk about here, and then we're gonna, dive into the product side of this too. CBC, probably one of my my current favorites as for what we're seeing and how much potential cannabichromene has. So a couple things to know about cannabichromene is it is the one cannabinoid that in its natural room temperature state as an isolate at 99% purity, it's a liquid and it doesn't crystallize, which makes working with it from a formulation standpoint incredibly easy. It's a beautiful ingredient to work with. You can see some imagery here. We'll be sharing some videos that we've taken over the course of the next few days, so you can kind of see it in action. It's beautiful to work with. And from a efficacy standpoint, there's a couple applications that you want to think about. On the ingestible side, CBC, on its own, also, has that incredibly anti-anxiety, anti-stress relief feeling. But what it also does is that any cannabinoid that you pair it with, such as CBC with CBN, it will make whatever cannabinoid it's paired with even stronger. It gives it superpowers. And so people who are making things like CBN tinctures, they add a little bit of CBC to it, and all of a sudden, taking that little bit of a tincture works really, really well. So CBC seems to play very well with others. We are still now in the experimental phase of seeing exactly how much and what ratios. So, we'll have a lot more feedback to share with you on that, but it's incredibly exciting. And one of the even more exciting applications of it on its own is for, pain relief. It is a potent pain reliever, and seen as potentially, the alternative or the future of pain relief products like aspirin, where it's like, wouldn't it be preferable to have a natural material like this that could be as effective or more effective in relieving severe pain? It is quite effective here. And then on the skincare side, we have several clients who have started to work with CBC in skincare, and says that it is, one of the most effective products for treating acne or oily or problem skin that they've ever seen. Like the term, like it's like a miracle ingredient has popped up from some of these skincare companies that we're working with. It's really, really interesting. So again, this would be another ingredient that would highly encourage, if you haven't seen it, just to even get a sample of it so you can try working with it, because it's really great to work with, and it's making some really excellent products.
Yeah, we formulated some of your CBC a few weeks ago for a mutual client, a mutual partner that we both work with, and we were blown away with it at room temperature. Like you said, every extract's different, so it makes our job very challenging. It's kind of we don't really know once we open up a jar or a vial what we're going to get. And this was our first time to put our hands on the CBC, and it was absolutely beautiful. I mean, it was a maple syrup consistency. No heat required. It formulated extremely well to a tablet form. So we created an instant release tablet. We upped the ratio of, we have a full spectrum CBD and then 10 megs of CBC. So it was a nice potent mix of 30 megs CBD to 10 CBC. And we'll see, we'll be pressing those tablets out probably within the month, and real excited for that to hit the market. The shared client that we have is a real visionary, the same way that OBX is, in the sense that let's get the cannabinoids into the market, let's see how they work, and let's see what sort of direct feedback we can get. And working with that CBC was pretty cool and very exciting, because that, not only for us, but that means other formulators can work with it in its current state without having to do a ton of other formulation work to move it around into different forms like we have to do on so many of the extracts. So very exciting because I think that's a great usable medium. And I, like you mentioned, some of the other cannabinoids, I don't think you'll need much of it to make it effective. So like Nicole said, reach out and get your hands on some of this product because it's something you can put into even just put into a tincture right away. Beautiful, beautiful material.
Thanks, Jason. Love our CBC. And then CBDV, also one of the rarest of the rare right now. It is has a wide variety of potential applications. This is a solid crystal, powderized form to work with in its pure state. And the research on this material is quite nascent. So everything from, relieving, nausea and some of those gut conditions like IBS to, preventing seizures and being very effective, similar to, other applications of CBD itself. So CBDV, we are, at the tip of seeing our clients and customers starting to engage with and experiment with different formulations with it. And we're excited to learn more about it. It's been part of the spectrum that we've all seen and experienced. And so being able to now have it isolated in its pure form to truly understand what it does on its own and what it might also be able to do in combination with some of the other cannabinoids when you're able to create these, precise ratios of different products is what we're definitely planning to do with this one.
Yeah, and we don't have any experience with CBDV. Very few people do. So it's exciting. Again, all the variant cannabinoids and the acidic cannabinoids are kind of unsung heroes, I think, behind the scenes that add a lot of potency and dynamics to a cannabinoid extract, but we don't really realize it because it's maybe not the primary cannabinoid that we're talking about. So being able to isolate it and see it for what it is exciting, all the variants. So again, can't wait to get our hands on that as well, but no direct experience on the formulation side.
Well, now for the good stuff. Let's talk about making some products here. We've already kind of been talking about what goes into them, what the ingredients are you want to think about. And the question we ask ourselves is, are your products ready for CBD 3.0? And what we mean by that with CBD 3.0 is if you look at, the kind of evolution of our industry, when the, 2018 Farm Bill passed and really was that trigger that led to this explosion of interest in the industry, everything from, the agronomy side and farmers wanting to plant hemp for the very first time to those first harvests, and then all of those products and brands that came to market, really led to this, surplus of both material and products in the market, and there was a wide variance in quality, right? So that really led to, what we call that trough of disillusionment, where, there's just so many products out there. Sometimes you find one that works well, you buy the same product from the same company even, and that one doesn't work. And it really confused a lot of consumers. There is a lot of distrust out there. So we really believe we're starting to turn the corner. And I think that, finding companies that are like-minded, like Volunteer Botanicals, who agree that what's really going to transform this industry is, bringing that level of quality and purity and efficacy to products that are going to make CBD that works, that's going to make cannabinoid products that work, that are going to treat all these different conditions that we talked about earlier. And so that's what we mean by CBD 3.0 is we are in the moment now of this is the make or break time to truly create those products that are going to win and be successful and going to be beloved by consumers and do really well for the whole category. So when you talk about, innovation, it's a word that comes up very, very often. Product innovation, how innovative can you be? What is your innovation pipeline? This is, kind of the textbook definition of what innovation is. But what's really important here and what, we really focus on is it's, not only about introducing something new, but it's about something that's substantially improved, right? It's like we are not inventing or reinventing cannabinoids. They've been around, but now we are actually making, both on the ingredient side from our processes and our, absolute obsession with purity, to the product development side by working with partners like Jason and his team to create substantially improved and best-in-class products that are going to celebrate the ingredients and that are really going to work and do what they say. And so when we think about innovation, I think that part of this improvement, and for us, it's really continuous improvement. We're never satisfied. Once we make a great product, we're thinking about how to make that product even better and better and what the next products are going to be. So that's really the mindset to think about when you think about product innovation. And so, what do we hear that consumers want? And what, we've heard deeply when we speak to our customers on a daily basis, when our consumer research team is looking at the reports and studying the market, it comes down to 3 key needs that consumers want to have. One is efficacy. It needs to work, right? If they buy a product and it works, they're going to be a customer for life. If someone is having trouble sleeping and they buy a CBN product that all of a sudden they've had their first good night's sleep in 2 years, you're going to have won that customer over. And efficacy really is just the #1 area of focus that really has risen to the top for us as far as how we view product development and innovation and what we really want to be making. Following hand in hand with that, which for us is really table stakes, is quality. The CBD category is a premium category now. We are hoping that it becomes even more widely accessible as more and more people come into the category, as more and more efficacious but affordable products come into the category. But product quality should be at the core, starting with those quality ingredients, choosing to work with manufacturers that are making products the right way, that are being able to assure you that it's going to have the proper dosage and safety in your end materials is super important. And then form. It is, the form of how people want to enjoy or take CBD and CBD products is going to be important. You have tinctures that have been kind of the category standard since its inception, is not what consumers want. Like it's messy, it's not as efficacious as other form factors. So, really thinking about and taking cues from other categories, and Jason's going to talk about that when he talks about, volunteer botanicals approach is, what are products in the nutraceuticals category? What are products from sports nutrition or vitamins or dietary supplements that are a ways and means of, improving your health and wellness, but with a particular set of forms that are more sophisticated? And can we bring those in to this industry? And the answer is yes, we are. So, if we were going to give you 3 key takeaways for how to be innovative in 3.0 CBD, and Jason said this earlier too, CBD is no longer one size fits all. So by being able to have access to and formulate with, the pure isolated cannabinoids, being able to create these precise ratios of exactly how much CBD, CBN, CBC you want in your formula, you're going to, be able to, give that level of certainty to your consumer, and it's also going to really help with the efficacy and the reliability of those products. Ingredient advancements. So, on the ingredient side, from creating, all of the methods to produce the, pure isolates that we have, and also combinations of those in different blends and formulas, things like water-soluble CBD with our Hydrobond collection. All of these ingredient advancements are going to help make better and better products. And then the routes of administration, how you experience them, your delivery mechanism. If cannabinoids are going to, have this, billion, trillion dollar potential that everyone talks about, you've got to be thinking about what the best delivery systems are. And, that is, the, one of the many. I would say it's, there's many reasons why OBX is working with volunteer botanicals, but, because they really have a great approach to how to unlock the potential of cannabinoids in routes of administration that are, the most effective products that I've ever taken. And I've taken quite a few CBD products in the years I've been in the industry. And, when we first met Volunteer and Jason shared samples of his products for our team to take a look at, all of us tried all of their products that we're going to talk about, the tablets, the chewables, the dissolvables, and they are all wildly efficacious. I felt like I'd never taken CBD before because they were just that good. It was on another level. So, immediately piqued our curiosity as well as our interest to go into partnership together. So, very excited to turn it over to Jason to tell you a little bit about why these products are so amazing.
Wow. Well, thank you for saying that. That's quite a statement. And not to pat our own back, but it's one we hear quite a bit. It's why we started our company, is we saw early on that cannabinoids are consumed in oil form. And we all know in a general sense that that is not the most efficacious way to do it. Many full spectrum oils taste terrible. So outside of less efficacious, we have less desirable. And that's a form factor that most people just aren't comfortable with. And so the next step is a gel cap. And, if you don't put oil under your tongue, what's the use of taking oil? And what's the use of taking a gel cap just to swallow that oil and it get eaten up by your gut? So we believe that there's more to it. And we're happy to offer our bit of expertise in some of the experience that we have with formulating it in different and unique ways and making those now form factors in a way that aren't only efficacious, but they're fun to take, they're comfortable, and people like taking them. So we'll talk specifically about our technology of flowable powders. And flowable powders, I believe, truly are the future of the cannabis space. There's a lot of people that have water-soluble powders and water-soluble liquids. We do as well. But we believe that the real potential is going to be in our conversion using our patent-pending technology to move these different extracts into flowable powders. So flowability is a general term, and it's basically used to describe how different solids perform in a non-static state. And in our particular case, we're talking about powders. So does that powder clump? Does it move? Does it blend well? Etc. So in a general sense, how does it flow? How does it move? And there are many factors that affect or dictate how a powder flows or its flowability. And the most difficult part that we have seen is that all cannabis extracts are different. If you're in the industry at all, you've seen a crude oil. And if you compare that side by side to a THC-free distillate oil, and you compare that side by side to an isolate crystal, wildly different mediums, wildly different ways to look at those mediums, and combining them is not the easiest way unless you can just melt and go straight into an oil form. So when we convert to flowable powders, now we are able to create a new dynamic medium. And this creates a whole new avenue for cannabinoids and terpenes to exist on a level playing field. So large-scale manufacturing can enter into the space without changing their current manufacturing processes. And we believe that this is critical for the next wave of non-oil-based products. We got to move past oils. I do believe there's a place for oils, don't get me wrong, but I almost feel like that market is pretty much tapped out. So our goal when converting cannabinoids and terpenes into flowable powders is to create consistent products and precise ratios of cannabinoids. And when we do that, we can formulate solid oral dose forms like capsules, combo capsules, pressed tablets, instant release tablets, chewable tablets, oral dissolving tablets, all sorts of things, because now it's in a medium that works extremely well for all of those manufacturing systems. So this is extremely exciting when you're dealing with minor cannabinoids, because as we've mentioned multiple times, with minors, we believe it's not a one-size-fits-all. So when we can formulate minors into flowable powders, what it allows us to do is hit very specific ratios and hit those numbers every single time. So The flowable powders work extremely well when they're blended with other nutraceuticals. They make great combo products. We make sleep capsules, immunity blends, all sorts of different things that now can be bridged back to cannabinoids. And that to me is the untapped market that we're all hoping and wanting to see. And we're excited about not knowing where that's going to lead us, but using these cannabinoids as an ingredient and not the primary part of the formulation. And we do this by our patent pending LNS system. And the LNS system is short for Lipid Neutralization System. And it has its roots dating back to the late 90s and pharmaceutical applications. Our chief science officer back in the 90s was tasked with turning the thick liquid of Imodium into a tablet form. And it was a genius idea, but it took him well over a year to learn and figure out how to do that. And luckily for us, that's the genesis of our LNS system that we're using today. So what we're doing now in a general sense is we're merging pharmaceutical processes with pure plant extracts. And we're now able to have very, very precise mediums that work extremely well for formulating. So this cutting edge technology, it basically allows us to convert a cannabis crude oil, any distillate oil, any terpene oil, or any isolates to a nearly identical particle size, similar density and consistent content uniformity. So that way, all extracts now basically have the same characteristics. And once they have the same characteristics, you can combine and reconstitute and achieve ratios that were not achievable by nature. So whether you're wanting to get a very specific ratio of 30 megs of this and 10 megs of that and 5 megs of this with a 4% terpene profile, or you just want to reconstitute and build a much fuller spectrum profile than nature can give you. You can do all of that now with flowable powders, and we can do it precise and we can do it consistently over and over. So there's really no other way that we've seen that you can blend a crude with a distillate, with an isolate and terpenes and get these specific custom ratios. So when we use the LNS system to create products, we use anchor points when deciding how we'll formulate each extract. Sometimes that anchor point might be delta 9 THC. Other times it could be an oil load. Sometimes we'll do a formulation that's very specific to the overall goal of the deliverable. So we're custom formulators. We don't just formulate an oil at a specific potency and sell it the way it is. We don't do that. We don't sell stock products. We custom formulate to the needs of our clients. So in just a minute, we'll show you some of those examples of products that we're using or that we're creating with OBX's extracts, and it'll show you a little bit about the technology and how we can do it. But I will say that the most exciting part of the LNS system is the untapped potential. Sure, we can create products like the ones we just mentioned, tablets and capsules and combo capsules and extremely potent deliverables. But I also encourage you to come up with some ideas too. The more that we have synergy and work with clients, the more they bring ideas to us or to our vendors like OBX. So I encourage folks that are listening to this or get to watch this at a later date to reach out to Nicole at OBX or your account rep with OBX and set up a call, and we can brainstorm out some of your ideas. We've been able to formulate some products that we never could have dreamed up ourselves, but the technology lends itself to a new potential, and sometimes it's truly the power of us rather than the power of what just volunteer botanicals can create by ourselves. So the LNS system is exciting, it's new, and we're getting really good at working with all these different extracts. And we still see this as just the groundwork, the foundation for what's to come. So yeah, let's put our heads together and see what we can create together rather than what we can create individually.
Yes, very, very well said, Jason. Couldn't agree more. You know, we love to, you know, brainstorm and ideate together with clients. You know, there's no idea that's too big or too wild. You know, we love those actually the most. So anything that you're thinking about that you thought would be something you wanted to try, yeah, please, we'd love to work with you and talk about that. And Jason, one thing I wanted to ask, just because I remember it was, you know, something I asked you that it blew my mind a little bit. So what's the difference between a water soluble powder and a flowable powder? Like why would I work with one or the other?
a great question, and one that most people that we communicate with, they don't understand because most people haven't seen or worked with a flowable powder. I think the easiest way to look at the difference between the two is consistent particle size and density. So what a flowable powder allows us to do is the particle size on it is so small that we can pack a ton of milligrams into a very, very small deliverable. For those that are familiar with pharmaceutical standards or capsule sizes, we currently manufacture a 40 milligram capsule in a size 3, very, very small. I'll show it to you here in a second. You know, we can get well over 100 milligrams into a size 1, which is far smaller than your typical nutraceuticals, and then being able to press these into tablets. So the difference between a pharma grade or a flowable powder versus a water soluble is A, particle size, B, particle density, and the ability for it to be able to be compacted very tightly and compressed very effectively. So it's a completely different medium. You can't really do any of that with a water soluble powder. You can sure put it into capsules, but you can't nearly achieve the potency that we can do with a flowable powder. And it also lends well for blending. Like I mentioned, we created a sleep capsule that had 50 megs of full spec flowable powder. It had 10 milligrams of melatonin, it had magnesium, and then we powderized a little terpene. And all of that fits into a size 1 very easily. So it's a different beast. It's really cool. And so I think we like flowable is it lends itself to so much more than just your typical water soluble powder applications. And like I said, much of that is just unknown of how far it can go and how dynamic it can become.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, that makes total sense to me when I first learned it from you, and so I felt, you know, wanted to make sure everyone could share that. Should we check out some of these products? Should we do a little show and tell?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
All right, so let's pick up a few of these. So just to give people an understanding, let's see how I can do this. This is a CBD distillate. It's very thick. It doesn't move, it's crystallized, and this is a very common extract. So we take this in this form that OBX will send us, and we will turn it into form factors like very small pressed tablets. This is a CBN CBD specific ratio tablet for a customer of ours that we just completed. Kind of tough to see here, but give you an idea size-wise, very small. Also about a size 2 capsule size. Well smaller than your typical Tylenol.
Yeah. Wow.
We have oral dissolving tablets, and these things are so small that they literally, I'm going to just put it on my tongue because it'll give you kind of a reference point.
They're tiny.
They're tiny. They're basically half the size of a Tic Tac, and they melt immediately onto your tongue, so you don't have to worry about stomach acids, even though our tablets, our instant release tablets that I just showed you, are designed to become activated within the gut. So you don't have to worry about the first pass issues of it moving through the stomach and being digested. It actually hits the stomach acid, becomes released and absorbed into the stomach lining. And that's the formula of our tablets. That's our chief science officer. His background is in tableting, tablet coding, etc. So his formulas are absolutely fantastic and dynamic, and why that product works so well for you, Nicole. Another great form factor that we like are these little chewable tablets. And we can fit about 20-25 megs into a chewable tablet. They're delicious. They taste, we can flavor it any way you want. These are a tart cherry, so they taste almost like a Flintstones vitamin. This one has 15 milligrams of CBD, just a prototype. But like I said, we can get probably upwards to 25 megs if it's an isolate based, easily 15 to 20 if it's heavy oil load or distillate based. We also have, like I mentioned, this is a product, this is a size 3 40 meg capsule. So again, a very, very tiny deliverable. If I were to hold this up, say next to a gel cap, the gel cap would probably be 3 times the size of that capsule, and only contain 20 to 30 megs in it. We got well over 100 milligrams, 115 milligrams of full spec distillate powder into a size 1 capsule. If it were a size 0, I bet we could get close to 200 milligrams. If it were a 00, which is the big supplement capsules, I bet we could easily get over 250 milligrams. Now, we're not there in the market where people are consuming cannabinoids at those milligram potencies, but some of our customers who have more severe cases and larger ailments, they absolutely consume to upwards of 200 milligrams of CBD, a full spectrum a day. So we believe as price point continues to come down and potencies go up, these new deliverables will allow us to really maximize the value of what cannabinoids can offer. I honestly feel like the potential of cannabinoids gets squashed a little bit when everybody thinks it's all CBD, and then their second statement is it's CBD oil, and their third statement is it tastes like crap. And so as we have these new form factors, like an oral dissolving tablet that tastes like mint or has a nice refreshing cucumber melon taste, or a chewable tablet that's much more reminiscent of a Flintstones vitamin and one that everyone has consumed and enjoyed, to these small tablets that can be broken in half. They have a tamper bar, and we can now have very specific dosages that that we're comfortable at hitting, and we hit them every time. So those are just a couple of the ones that I have here. Here's another little tablet I'll just show. It's a red, let's see here. So this is a red instant release tablet, and it was 25 megs of CBD and 25 megs of CBG. And like I mentioned, the CBN was a 30 to 10. The CBC we're formulating is a 30 to 10. We're working on some neat projects with OBX. They're going to be rolling out a 1-to-1 5 milligram CBN to CBD oral dissolving tablet. They're also going to be rolling out a fantastic, I don't know if I can say this, Nicole, but I want to say it because I'm excited about it. A 50 meg broad spectrum tablet that has an immunity blend of terpenes that I think it's like 9 or 10 different terpenes that we're cauterizing for them, reintroducing them back in. So that is one product that's not only going to be extremely effective, it's going to smell great. And that's one of the neat things I think about these form factors is we can add flavor, we can add smell, and all of those things actually contribute to the enjoyment of a deliverable. And you know, with the technology, the sky's the limit. If we wanted to just do a light flavor of vanilla, like Nicole mentioned once, to a tablet, imagine opening up a bottle of tablets and them smelling and have a light taste of vanilla. So really exciting potential here with some of these form factors. And I believe we're going to do a giveaway. Is that not right, Nicole? Where some of these, everybody that tuned in today will get a little box in the mail?
That's right, Jason. Everyone who's here will follow up this afternoon. So if you haven't already, shared your information, so we can send you a sample kit for you to have all of these to see and try for yourself at home. I will say, the oral dissolving tablets, you saw Jason put on something, it literally like dissolves almost instantly. It's wild. And of course the CBD there works really well. We're putting some CBN in there too. As Jason just mentioned, we are rolling out a 50 milligram broad spectrum immunity tablet, and very, very excited about that one. So there'll be a bunch of samples. We want to share them with you so you could try for yourself. I know we're almost at the top of the hour. We probably want to try and get a couple questions in here. So if you have dropped your questions in, go ahead, Justin. Any questions that we've gotten from the audience so far?
Yes, we've had some amazing questions. To everyone who asked them, thank you so much for asking them. If we don't get a chance to address your question, you can follow up on that email that gets sent out to you with the sample information, and we'll make sure that we address that question for you. But to start, people were asking if the recording was going to be available and if there was going to be able to have a copy of the presentation. Both of those will be sent off to you so that you can watch this one over, and you can also get access to the presentation. But let's jump into some more technical questions. So somebody asked, is CBN isolate effective without the terpenes? And there was a few questions about terpenes. So I would love to hear just kind of your answer to that question, Nicole. And Jason.
Of course. So CBN isolate on its own is incredibly efficacious. We see a lot of products being made that are standalone CBN products, be it tinctures, tablets, dissolving tablets, etc. That CBN can do the work on its own and is incredibly effective. We often see people like we just mentioned with our broad spectrum and immunity terpene blend, that terpenes are added to both add to the sensory experience, both whether it's smell and or taste. They also provide benefits on their own. So if you study, for example, linalool oftentimes is paired with CBN, because linalool, which is what gives lavender its fragrance, on its own also has those nice kind of sedative, relaxing effects to it. So you get a effect-driven benefit from a terpene that can complement any cannabinoid you work with, in this case like CBN. Jason, I know you guys have a nice set of kind of sleep blend terpenes that you work with over there, if you want to share on those too.
Yeah, absolutely. And to answer the question that you answered as well, yes, CBN does work as a standalone, and it works extremely well coupled with a full spectrum product. Does it work better? I don't know. I just know that it works extremely well. And I think that's the case for any isolated cannabinoid. There's obviously a place for it, but we're getting maximum value when it works in concert with the other cannabinoids. As far as the terpene side of things, absolutely. Our sleep capsule that we currently formulate we only use linalool, but we are now potentially going to run that same sleep capsule with a sleep blend of terpenes, and I believe it's about 8 to 10 different terpenes that are sedative and relaxing. And so to me, that is a lot of untapped potential on what the terpenes will do in concert with cannabinoids. The terpenes that we're working with are all terpenes that are found within the cannabis plant. So they are naturally occurring with these strains, but maybe not at this potency. So, the sky's the limit. Let's experiment and see. As long as everything's within a safe and healthy range, I think we can accomplish some new objectives just by boosting some of these profiles.
Thank you. Let's try and get like 2 more questions in here. I know that we're at the top of the hour here. So someone was asking for both of OBX and Volunteer, what was the most popular product currently at the moment? I thought that was a really relevant and awesome question.
Yeah, well, I can speak to, on the ingredient side, what we're seeing, as we've said a few times already, CBN has started to rise in popularity in formulations, targeting sleep in particular. Lots of products being made out there in that regard. I would say right behind it, we're also seeing a really strong surge in CBC. Again, as we said before, working with it is beautiful and easy, whether you're making some of the Volunteer products, like doing, instant release tablets targeting pain relief or things like that. Or if you want to, use it in any kind of topical formulations for skincare, it would be great. As well as, for making, even just a basic tincture, it's like so straight up easy to work with that once people get their hands on it, they're getting really excited about it. So we're quite excited about that one as well. And I would say the kind of third area of focus, and you see a couple examples on our site, we do create custom bespoke blends that are precise ratios of these different isolates to create a product like a 10% CBN distillate product that's really formulation ready and ready to go. So those are some of the most rising categories on the ingredient side for us. Jason, would love to hear on the product side what you're hearing.
I think from our perspective, we're getting a lot of requests for products that work. And there's a lot of junk on the market, and I think in reality is people are getting confused with taking cannabis products or hemp-based products that are ineffective. And so some of our form factors that are more comfortable and more common, like capsules, and now these tablets that are going to be hitting the market, they got people excited because people like yourself, when you consumed our tablet, everyone in your company said this is by far the most effective tablet or the most effective deliverable I've ever taken. And and I love to hear that because it just reiterates what we're doing here. And what we're doing is trying to make these products easier to consume and better. So we're getting a big push on creating unique capsules, because once we can powderize this into flowable powder, it leaves a ton of headspace to do all sorts of things. When we formulated our sleep capsule, we did it for fun, just to see what we could accomplish and how much we could get in there. It's become one of our best sellers. And what we're beginning to hear is people are buying this product and saying, this is my favorite CBD product. Well, we know it's not really a CBD product, is it? It's a sleep product that has CBD in it, but it also has melatonin, and it also has linalool, and it also has magnesium. So we're beginning to see that these new dynamic mediums pave the way for a more dynamic product, what you can add to it, how you can make combo products from it, and other ingredients that might increase bioavailability, uptake, all sorts of different patented ingredients with other companies now combining those with the cannabinoids. So people like products that work. If they're going to spend money, they want it to work. And our capsules sell like hotcakes because people have a very similar experience to you did. It's, holy cow, I actually found something that works, and it's allowing me to get off my Celebrex or get a good night's sleep. So I believe that's the key, is form factors like capsules and tablets that people are easy to take, and they work really, really well. And then you got a customer for life.
Thank you. And let's just do one final question. I think this one's a very relevant question. Somebody was asking, what is the best way to educate vendors and specifically customers who you would sell this cutting edge technology to of products, these finished goods? How do you educate them?
That's a good question. And I think that's a problem across the board, right? Is the three of us can sit here and talk about technology and efficacy and the excitement of what's to come until we're blue in the face. But where the rubber meets the road is the storefront or the counter. And it's difficult with the speed at which things are evolving and the junk that we all have to trudge through to get to a good product. I think a lot of that has to do with good education on the front end, having things like what OBX is doing today, plugging into training systems, Volunteer Botanicals, any of the vendors that we work with. We have training sessions with whether they're a store and they're carrying products, or they're even someone like Nicole at OBX. We want to make sure everyone fully understands our technology so they can maximize the value in it. And it's the extra steps, I think, of doing this sort of thing that are critical to get people to understand it. Otherwise, it's just another capsule, right? I mean, and if I don't know the difference between a gel cap and a 50 meg full spectrum capsule that is flowable powder that's designed to be released in the gut with a terpene blend infusion, it's just another capsule. So it's difficult, but I think it's these kind of conversations that are going to pave the way to people to understand that not all products are the same out there.
Yeah, well said, Jason. And yeah, I think, we all take a similar approach here. I think it is dependent on, what access you have to those vendors or those clients or customers. So if you're, for example, selling, directly online versus in a brick and mortar store, there's different techniques of, what you can share, how you can explain, the different technologies that go into these products in a way that's friendly and easy for them to understand, while also, giving credence to, the level of sophistication of the tech. And so I think, there's ways to do that well, from a digital standpoint. I think from a, in-person or brick and mortar standpoint, trainings, as Jason just said, are really essential and really will be helpful so that you are empowering, anyone who's there to be able to understand it and explain it in the best way. And then I think, going back to CBD that works, I think, making a product that works and also making a product that's focused. This is not just a CBD product, it's a sleep product that happens to have CBD in it. I thought that was so smart, right? Where it's like, what am I trying to solve for you? And if this product solves that, then you'll want to know more about how it works and what it does. But like the first thing you're going to know is like, wow, I feel better. Like I could sleep. I'm not in pain anymore. And that is, really where we all spend our time thinking about what's going to work and how it's going to work.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Well, Nicole and Jason, thank you for diving in today to so much depth and really just showing such an awesome topic. To all the attendees, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll make sure that we follow up with this presentation and with all the information associated with your sample. And thank you, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. Bye.
All right.